have good stuff to tell you.
Okay.
Okay,
You
we're
gonna do an
officially
intro,
at
Greg, or
camp.
you want me to do my own?
Do your own.
All right, so this is Northern Lights and Meteors, both of which you can do radio off of. But tonight's talk is more of the video aspect of recording them where I am up here. And I'll start off with a shared screen. Now, I usually do my screen the other way, but I'm sharing the big screen now so you guys get a bigger picture. So you're looking at a bush with a camera in front of it, I hope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, there's no audio on these things. It just slides and
Oh,
movie
that's a
clips.
nice picture.
Yeah, so that's the camera. It's by TP-Link, and the model number is C325WB. Now, the interesting thing about this camera is it doesn't go into a black and white mode when it gets dark. So there's no sudden jump as the darkness approaches in the evening. It's color during the day, it's color at night. So
Where is that lake? Is that in Florida?
no, this is my front yard here at the cabin. I took this this morning, actually, this picture.
That's a,
I thought-
is that,
Steve, he's in Canada.
that's
What's
fresh
that?
water.
Yeah, that's all fresh water. That's called Echo Bay out that way, and then out the other way, it's called Ptarmigan Bay.
Oh, that is.
So-
I bet there was good fishing in there, huh?
What's that?
Good fishing in there.
Oh, yeah. So can you see my mouse at all?
I can see the whatever that.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
walleye and pickerel right there, and then jackfish or northern pike a little over to the right.
I like those. Yeah, that's it looks like a really lots of really good protein out of that.
Yeah.
Free protein.
So that's a better look at the camera. You see there's black electrical tape. If you guys ever want to play with this thing, I did some experimenting. I found that it almost tried too hard. When the night got really dark, it over tried looking in the darkness, and it was creating kind of a cloudiness, sort of speckles and stuff. And I wanted to detune it a bit. So what I did is I turned it's got little spotlights on each side of the lens. I turned them on with the software, and then I covered them up with black tape. And the program in the camera says, oh, he's got the lights on. We can back off on the video gain a little bit. And that gave me a darker sky and a better effect by doing that. So anyone watching this who gets the C325WB, which not on sale, regular price, Amazon.com, $53 US right now. I just looked it up a minute
Now,
ago.
what is that for? What? That's a security camera, right?
It's a security camera, yeah.
Is it Wi-Fi?
Yes, and Ethernet, your choice. I've got mine Wi-Fi. Someday I'd like to go Ethernet because it is a bit of a problem. And then I got these little plastic buckets used for when you're wiring your house for doing your vapor barrier. And I just turn one upside down and put the wall wart inside there. And this is an extension cord coming up.
Now, are those solar powered?
No, this is 120 volts coming in here on an extension cord. And then it converts it to 9 volts, I think, and that goes up to the camera. And then that's Wi-Fi back to the house.
That's a hillbilly operation. You have
Yeah.
a long extension cord. That's
Yeah. It should be tech. It should be tech cable, but it ain't.
Well, that's Canadian, so it's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's an
That's
old.
good. So when your dog bites it, he gets fully electric.
Oh yeah. Well, they only do it once.
Yeah.
So I just put I found a flat face of rock, and I just put one of those Tapcon drill or
Right.
screws into there, and that's all she wrote. That was the west facing camera. This is the east facing camera. So it's
Oh
up
my
on
God,
the
that's
tower.
is that your tower?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh my God, that's huge.
Yeah, it's got a, well, you're looking up it, so it makes it look bigger than it is. It's 45 feet. It's standard. I think some folks in the club have got more.
What is that? A 20? What does that do? What that antenna is a 20 meter?
That's a Mosley TA33.
Okay.
And it's not the classic, and yet the TA33 is more classic than the classic. I think it's the most common Mosley out there. Below it, barely below it, is a 6 meter 4-element beam, which I do a lot of. And then
you do a lot of 6 meter. Wow, amazing.
And then above that is a 2 meter beam with a bent element, but there's no way I'm climbing all the way up to the tippy top to straighten it.
How can you have all those antennas is it tied into one coaxial cable? or
No,
do you have multiple?
no, they're separate feed. And then here is our fan dipole. So the
Oh.
blue wires are 80 meters and the yellowish wires are 40 meters.
I'm lost already. I'm lost.
So that they're below everything. So they take off at right angles to each other. So I've got a wire going this way and a wire going this way for 80 meters.
I got this thing called 130-foot end fed wire, and it does really good. I'm
Yeah, so
surprised.
that works well too, yeah. But you'll have a as you go up in bands, you'll have patterns, clover leaves
Right.
coming out of that. Whereas on a fan dipole, if you're cut to the exact band, like this is cut to 40, the yellow wire here, and the other end of it goes this way, you will have a more symmetrical pattern. Although there's nothing wrong with a clover leaf, because where you get gain in one area, you lose it in another area, but
Mhm.
it all works out in the wash. And this is an interesting antenna. This is the quiz time. What is that?
I don't know.
It's an
Is that-
it's
is that-
it's 1 gigahertz, not 1.3 for our amateur bands. It's a ADSB aircraft picking
Yeah.
up telemetry from the aircraft.
That's what I thought. Yes.
You should have said it, Greg. You would have looked like a real smart guy.
That
This
just
bel-
looks,
this belongs to Flight Aware 24, the they're Swedish company that keeps track of airplanes. If you hear news things, they'll say this is where the plane crashed and the data was from Flight Aware 24. They're one of the biggest data gathering companies for airplane. And I put in an email to them and said, I've got a tower. They like to deal with hams, especially if they're in remote areas. And I said, I've got a tower. They said, send us pictures of your view. And I did. And they said, okay, we'll send you this kit. So they sent me this, the coax, a receiver, a GPS antenna for time coordination.
Oh God, you're making me jealous already. You got all
but
this
it's
stuff.
but it's not mine. So if I go off the air, they want it back like right now. In fact, if we have a power outage, I get an email from these guys in about 3 hours saying, "Hey, your system's down. Do you need help getting it going?" And they say in no uncertain terms that if you're not using it, you're shipping it back to them. So it's on loan.
We need to get out to your area because I'm just getting excited. Canada.
Oh
looks
yeah,
like a-
yeah. I'll
that's
take
a
you all.
great-
I'll take you all fishing. And Greg, you'll have to wear a life jacket.
Do you,
I
Yeah.
love-
do you
Awesome.
still climb, Chris?
What's that?
Do you still climb?
Yes. I don't know how many more years I will, but I am still.
Okay.
And
Good.
every year I go up there, it gets scarier and scarier. So I don't know how long that's going to be, Jimmy. But right now I am.
No, you don't bounce as good as you used to.
No, I don't know what it is. And when you're young, you go up there and you don't think twice. But when you get old and you've got hardly any years left in your life, then you worry about dying. Like, what's up with that? You know, it doesn't make any
well,
sense.
I think you gain wisdom is what it is.
Let's hope that's what it is. Anyhow, it gives me the willies now when it didn't before. I know that. This is the third and final camera. This is north facing. So this one I attached onto the dock, and it just looks out. It goes straight north. So that's my little outboard, one of them. And that's a better look at it. There you can see the tape that I covered up. There's got a little spotlight here and a little spotlight over here. So I just cover them up with black tape and then tell the software to turn them on. And let's close that and I'll open this in a
Oh,
different
wow,
way.
that's nice.
Yeah, well, yeah, so let's go
Motorola.
right into the video. This first one is from December of last year. So this has nothing to do with the shower last night or this morning, but it gives you a view of the three pictures.
All right.
I'll pause right here. So this is the west camera that's looking, the first one we looked at. And on the right is the east one on the tower, and the north one will be looking straight out on the lake. They actually overlap a bit. So as this plays, you can see the ribbons of light jump into the next one. There's music that goes along with this, but I'm not going to
Uh-huh.
painfully make you aware of that.
Does this keep you up all night? I don't know.
This this thing, I don't have to watch it. I go look at it the next morning.
Yeah. Uh,
So that's a December of last year, just before I went down to Panama City Beach, actually.
How bright is it outside? I'm serious. Is it like having a nightlight out there? Or?
Yeah, kind of like that. The camera makes it brighter than it would with your eye, but if we've got a really good one, we had one, let's say a year ago, March, that I should have got a book down and tried to read it because I think I could have. Like it was bright enough, there was shadow
Yeah.
behind the car, and I think I could have read a paperback book by it. It was really bright.
I've
But
always wondered that because I've never seen them. So
But typically, yeah, it's kind of nightlight-ish. Like it's not blow your eyes out or anything. It's dim, but it's big, and they're
Now-
all moving. Now that is time lapse photography. That's all speeded up there.
Now, Chris, for our YouTube watchers, could you tell them what we're looking at?
Yeah, so that's just northern lights. Basically, it's the aurora borealis. So charged particles come off the sun, and they typically know when it happens because they've got satellites around the sun. I think 2 or 3 of them. I think there's supposed to be 3, and there's 2 working. Anyways, they can tell when we get a flare erupting, and when it erupts, it's if it is facing Earth, then they know it's going to be coming, and it doesn't travel at the speed of light. It takes about
Takes
3
a
days
few
to get
days.
here. Now, the interference to our radio does happen at the speed of light. So we'll have a flare happen and we'll lose ham radio almost immediately or 8 minutes later. And that can last anywhere from 2 hours to a day if it's severe. And then this stuff will come along about 3 days later, and it also will affect propagation, especially in the lower bands, because you're bouncing your HF waves off the ionosphere, and the ionosphere is kind of a smooth mirror-like finish, surface in my thoughts. I don't know if that's true or not. And these things come along, and now you got whitecaps up there. You got big waves, and your reflections get scattered more.
This is for 6 meters. Is that correct?
Well, this is on HF. Now, when you get up to 6 meters and above, now you're looking at a different propagation where you can actually bounce off the ionized particles themselves and
Right.
come back. And that's aurora scatter.
One of the test questions dealt with that Borealis or whatever. And
Uh-huh.
it said it had to do with 6 meters. So
Yeah.
is there one that's specific to 6 meters where it bounces halfway around the world?
Aurora scatter, the best I've gotten on aurora scatter is about 800 or 900 miles.
Okay.
But 6 meters, you can get into tropo conditions where it's affected by this, and that will bounce up and down, up and down. Not during a storm, but maybe afterwards and stuff with a good charged troposphere. I don't even know if they know exactly how the propagation works, but that's the one that'll take you into Japan, or which I worked a couple times, and there were very brief windows, maybe 12 hours long, happening maybe twice a summer, 3 times a summer if you're lucky.
Guys, the hell with it. Just get on the internet.
But the tropo,
unless you're on a desert island, just get on the internet.
yeah. Well, this is what I'm saying though, that is not just aurora scatter and tropo. You've also got meteor stuff too, so that's
Right.
another consideration. So
Hey,
here we have a
we
meteor coming
We
up.
just found out that in Findlay, Ohio, is getting rid of their ham fest. These old farts are all dying, so I think we're losing. We need more people like you to keep this going.
Yeah, well, and there's all kinds of different aspects to the hobby, but yeah, it is a dying dinosaur hobby. But that's the beauty of it, is you can pick up used equipment, eh, Frank?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Yeah,
It's not
I
dying.
keep track of all the widows.
It's gonna be like film in theaters. I talked to a guy that works. He's like 40 years old, and he's been in the theater business 24 years since he was 16. He said film's coming back. They're gonna put it on the projector again. It's not gonna be digitally. But it's like it's a matter of just eventually we are going to be able to market this again.
Yeah, I think it'll come and go. It's an interesting hobby, I find.
Yeah.
This is now, we're going to leave Aurora, although there is Aurora in this picture. This is an east-facing camera, and down by the trees there is the green of Aurora starting. This was captured a week before, well, not even, it was 5 days before last night's show, or 3 or 4 days. Anyhow, you'll see in the lower left a meteor come in here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a bit of an exploder. They've got a name for the ones that explode, and I was going to look it up before this presentation, and I forgot to. So you guys can look that up as homework. But there's a name for, is it a bolide? Anyhow, they've got a name for the ones that actually explode at the end. I'm just going to go through them one after the other. This one here is just a fast one. This is part of the shower. So what happened here last night and this morning is two things happened. We had a G4 magnetic storm, and we had the Perseids meteor shower, the August 11th, 12th meteor shower happening on the same night. And also we didn't have much of a moon up. So it was like a triple whammy in a good sense. And it was quite interesting to look for the meteors and the aurora at the same time, and there weren't a lot, but there were a few.
That's both. Well, I can't pronounce it, Chris. Bolides.
I think it's got 2 L's. I think it's Bollide.
No, 1L.
1 L, is it? Okay.
Bolide, airburst, or a fireball.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Bill's on top of it. He should be doing this.
Super bodies.
I should have just shipped him the videos, and he could do this better than I could. Okay, so this is
amateur astronomer. But...
this is another one, and this is happening. This is the night before last, so this is before the big aurora storm. And I'll go play it back again. We can see that meteor come in from the top of the screen. And what's in the center of the screen here? What's all this?
Maybe the Milky Way.
It's the Milky Way.
Dark...
Yeah. So if you can see the Milky Way, you got good seeing. That's a dark sky. Yeah. So that's kind of why I threw that slide in there, just because it was a nice picture of the Milky Way. That's the one looking west down Echo Bay again. This one here.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now this is getting into this. This is yesterday morning. So this is part of the Perseids shower and Perseids shower, and that's another exploder with a nice bit of aurora. Now that's looking dead east, so that the lights are actually quite out there already to the north, but they're starting to creep around, and that's when I lose my ability to work radio from them. And you can see how long the gas trail stays on there. I'm going to play that again. There's the burst, and look at the gas trail. It's still there, still there, still there. You could bounce radio waves off that probably for about 6 or 8 seconds. Back in the day, they would do CW as fast could be and actually get their call sign and grid in there during that glow. Now they've got a mode that sends out the same data in a 15-second period, I think 200 times. So it takes about a quarter a second or whatever to get that same data out. And all you got to do is happen to have a meteor happen during your 15-second transmit period. And people within about 1,000 miles, sometimes more, but typically within 1,000, will copy that signal and then come back to you. So to get a QSO, you got to go back and forth twice, just like FT8 each. So you typically need 3 or 4 meteors to do a successful QSO on meteor scatter. But typical is 5-10 minutes. You'll get it done if the rocks are coming. If they're not coming, it can take 2 hours, but that's another story. So this is just a random bunch. We're getting closer and closer to. Yeah, that's a nice one there. This is looking north. and it's 2 nights ago. So it
Oh,
was
a
it was
UFO.
yeah, it was starting to come up. You know, there was something about that one I was going to point out. What was it? There was that one.
Maybe I'm missing some. How do you know where to aim?
You don't. It's all a crapshoot.
Well, the meteors radiate from the Perseids,
Yeah,
and the
from a point.
Orionids. They originate. They
From Orion.
radiate from the Orion. Yeah.
But they originate there.
They could come in anywhere.
They could exactly. And when they say originate, now this is a bad example for you guys, but if you're in a car in a snowstorm and you got your headlights on, the snowflakes all look like they're coming from a certain point dead ahead of the car. And then when they get towards the windshield, they look like they're going sideways. But it's just an optical kind of illusion.
Delusion.
So these
Delusion.
things look like they're going laterally, but really they're coming at the Earth, and the atmosphere is like a big windshield that's kind of deflecting and burning them before they hit you. This is the same view, almost the same time, and another meteor down here. I'm going to play that one again. Now, I want to go back to what Bill just said. If we took the path that one took and the one before it, and we had a star chart that had the whole sky on it, like a spherical, a semi-spherical sky chart, and drew the lines back, they would intersect in the planet, or in the constellation Perseus. That's why they're called the Perseid meteor shower. And that's the origin point. But we're looking far and away. This one here, yeah, there's a good one there. And I'm going to go back to this. That's a pretty long one.
That's a good one.
I'm going to hit play again. The Perseus, I believe, is right about, the origin point is right about there. So at close to midnight, Perseus is rising for me in the east. This camera is the dead east one, so center frame is east. And this is a good example of the origin point where it comes from. If we were going to get another one, it would be going like this way, and a third one would go down this way, but they would all seem to origin from this point here.
Radiate.
Now, a lot of ham radio guys say, oh, point at the origin. So there's some truth to that, but it doesn't have to be exactly right, because remember that previous two slides were 90 degrees to this. They were looking north, and they got good views of meteors coming in. So it just depends on where they hit the atmosphere, what angle and stuff, whether you'll see them at the origin direction or the opposite of the origin direction. All directions are good. And for meteor watching, you don't need equipment. You need your eyeballs and a comfortable chair and something to keep the mosquitoes away. That's it. You don't need binoculars or anything, and you need just to keep looking up. Quite often people will be gathered around and looking at different directions, and then, oh, I got one. Oh, damn it, I didn't get it. And they'll start looking where that guy's looking, and you know how it goes. But this was quite a good one, quite a long one. Again, on a radio contact, that would be quite a nice one. Again, we're into this morning. There's a bolide and a half. That's a boomer. I'm going to play it again. Bang. Now, here's something interesting. We're now 1 a.m. roughly this morning, looking north. Where's the aurora? It's gone south of me, and this is why I don't look for these big G4 class storms, because they're good for Colorado and Missouri, and even you guys in Florida could probably, with a good 6-meter beam, bounce off them. But for me, they've gone over my head and they've gone south. And so looking north, I see virtually nothing. I can see kind of a haze from them, but that's about it. And we've done experiments with a group of us with the storm developing, and we were on 2 meters one night, and we're bouncing off the aurora. And we can tell by the Doppler spreading that we're actually working off aurora, not each other directly. And as that storm developed, all of a sudden we all just lost signal. It was just gone. And I went outside to look, and sure enough, the aurora was above me, not to the north, and that was the end of our fun.
I have a question. Is this
Yeah.
something that occurs every year, or is this something you have to wait every 17 years to happen?
It's more predominant
Every year.
during the max, so
Okay.
this year and next year and the year after will be good years. And during the min, it won't be as much, but they can happen at any time. But they're definitely more predominant during the solar maximum than the solar minimum.
I can tell you, when I used to listen to shortwave radio, I remember I used to listen to some ham radio operators. I was in the Army in the 90s, early 90s. And in 1992, 93, the conditions were excellent. You could just stick a wire up in the air and you could hear people on 10 watts. You could hear right through your ham radio or your radio. But that, though, it happens every so often,
Yeah.
Every 11 years.
Every 11 years. And the HF propagation is predominantly good, not during a solar storm, but in a period where solar storms are more common. So you want that steady ion flow. You don't want to blast like it was last night.
I'm telling you, 1993 was unbelievable. That was when Clinton was inaugurated and he went into office. But that era was like, I would stick a wire at the top of my barracks. I could hear people on 3.8 megahertz like they were next door. It was, and if you have an unmatched antenna, what does it tell you? That the propagation is so good, you're hearing everything,
Yeah. And this picture here, we can also see the smoke haze that was happening. You can see the far side of the lake is really kind of getting bleached out a bit, but it was still enough to see it. Now we're going to go west view. It's actually almost southwest there. What I wanted to show here was not a meteor, but that same meteor we just looked at, what it did to the sky.
Oh my God.
It was off camera. I'm going to play it one more time.
Above you. Yeah.
So that flash to the north was enough to light up the smoke when we're looking west and southwest. Like that's how.
Well, it had to be a bolide.
Yeah, it was a big one.
Fireball.
Yeah. There it is during the burst.
Golly day.
And also we can see before it hit, looking north, we saw hardly any aurora. Now we're looking actually dead center of the camera is almost southwest, and over to the left side is almost due south. So the aurora has now moved south for me, whereas down in mid United States it would still be north. And this is when I see it move south, I know the next day there'll be people saying, "Oh, we saw it from Texas or southern Colorado and stuff." But that shows you how powerful that last one was to light up the smoke in the air as it came down. The time stamp was actually the same. In fact, it was so close the two cameras. I'm not going to get into the software I run, but I'll mention it verbally. It's called ContaCam, CONTA Cam. It's a $10 software package, and it's meant for protecting your driveway of your house or what have you. And one of the astronomers who discovered this camera also discovered that this software would grab 8-second clips from your camera to stop you from having to look through all that footage from the night before. So I'll come up in the morning, fire up the computer that's recording these things, and I'll have, well, last night I had a ton because the northern lights move a lot. But on a night without northern lights and without fast moving clouds, I'll have maybe 3 or 4 8-second clips to review. And some of them might be bugs or fireflies, but some of them will be meteors.
Motion detection.
Yeah, it's just a simple motion detection software is all it is. And the beauty is that it puts this little 8-second clip on your hard drive and saves you all the work of having to go back to the camera and fish it out at the right time and all that. It's all easy breezy. So it really makes the job easier. I don't know what this one is. This one is not a meteor, but it shows this is real time. So we looked at that.
I didn't know they move that fast.
They don't usually, but this was an unusual fast moving one. So I thought I'd throw that in there to show they do truck along. So that's real time. And I'll just play that once again. It's most of my, if you go to my YouTube channel, most of my stuff is time lapse because honestly, they move slow and you'll be falling asleep before it's done. But this one here, real time, it was just trucking.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's dead. Again, center of camera is east. The action was actually southeast at 1:11 in the morning. I was in bed by then. Again, we're looking back west, and there's another,
Ooh.
not a bolide, but a pretty healthy one. We'll play that again.
Mhm.
Bang. Again, you trace that back, you would end up in the constellation of Perseus. And this is a time lapse
I hope.
from a week ago. This would be nice for me doing aurora scatter because it's to the north. And not that I would stay up till 2 in the morning, but right there, that would be a good bounce for 6 meters, 2 meters, possibly 432. I'm not sure. I've never done UHF on it, but I have done 6 and 2, and they bounce really well. And that's the morning coming there.
What
pretty
type
cool.
of antenna do you have to use?
That was a whole evening's worth. What's that, Jimmy?
What type of antenna do you have to use?
For meteor scatter?
Yeah, to bounce.
For meteor scatter bounce, I use a 4 elements on 6 and 11 elements on 2. So they're just your basic 6 meter beam.
You use the one that's on your tower. You don't have a specialized antenna.
No, just the one up on the tower, and it's about as cheap as you can get. I don't think you can get one cheaper than 4 elements. If you're getting into a serious, I'd maybe get 5 or 6 to start off with. Now I'm wishing I had. I know when I was buying this, I was talking to some of the meteor guys, and they said, "Oh, go 6 elements. You know, you'll be sorry," and they're right. I'll tell you, the first year and a half, what I used is the Mosley 33 off the back side. It tunes 6 meters. And a lot of the 20, 15, 10 tri-banders will tune the low end of 6 meters. And if not, with a bit of a tuner. And they've got 2 nice lobes sticking out the back. And I probably ran a year and a half, made dozens and dozens of contacts with an HF beam using it on 6 meters. A lot of guys I work, we get into chat groups so that we can actually send, information back and forth. They're using that long wire you were just talking about, an end-fed long wire on Meteor, and they're getting 800-mile contacts. And again, they got to work at it a bit harder, but a wire will work on 6 meters Meteor as well. For Aurora,
God bless the end-fed wire.
Yeah. Or your classic dipole. They'll work on meteors, and the Aurora is a little tougher. You'd like to have a little bit more gain. It kind of helps to separate from the direct contact to the meteor or to the Aurora contact. The Aurora contact is quite evident in the audio. If you're on single sideband, it is horrendous to listen to. It's like I said before here, it sounds like Darth Vader having COVID is what it sounds like. It's like, and this is where some of the new WSJT modes, not FT8, it won't work, but Q65, particularly 30C and 15B modes. One's a 30-second mode, one's a 15-second mode. The spacing of the tones are wide enough that it's more or less immune to the Doppler shifting and sporadic spreading that's going on, because they were designed for Earth, Moon, Earth. And when they're bouncing off the moon's moving all the time if it's rising, and the other way when it's setting, and the craters create different reflections. So they're used to this Doppler shifting and spreading. This Q65 was kind of designed for them, and it lends itself really well to both Aurora and any stuff like that. Now, the mode for this, jumping back to the meteors, is MSK 144, and it's a very specialized meteor propagation. It's on 15-second intervals. Again, just like FT8, it works just much like FT8, but you don't pick your frequency. Everyone is on the same 3 kilohertz pass band. On 6 meters, it's 50.260. You can actually tune up and listen to, and you'll hear a zing noise when a meteor comes. So even if you haven't got the software hooked up, if you know it's a meteor shower and you're up late one night or early one morning, go to 50.260 and listen for the occasional zingy noise. And that will be people bouncing off a meteor. Each zing will contain half a dozen call signs and locations. Like I said, they do 200 of them in 15 seconds. Call sign and grid square. Then it jumps over. It's just like FT8, the same as the FT8 text, but it's pretty phenomenal. Anyone got any questions about the work in these things? It's
Well-
not that hard to do.
Now, the meteor scatter, you can actually do it year round. Is that correct?
Yes, and there will be sporadic meteors any time of the year, typically better in the morning. And the reason for that is the Earth is rotating into the heavens, or whatever you want to call them, into space. In the morning, it's moving forwards. So if the meteors are coming at you, you'll see more of them at the front windshield of your car than you will on the rear windshield of your car.
That's because
Right?
the Earth is going toward them.
Yeah. So the morning you're
faster.
going towards them. So that's typically it's a morning thing.
They
But
say 2 o'clock.
yes, but tonight we're on the tail end of the Perseids tonight. There'll be people running MSK 144 tonight for sure. In fact, I don't have my radio on that right now, but I should.
Here's the meteor shower that comes in the fall.
What's that?
Meteor shower that comes in the fall.
There's one I don't have all the dates in front of me, but you can just Google meteor showers. August 11th, 12th is a biggie. November something.
Yeah.
Go to heavensabove.com.
Yeah, that's a great website for all that stuff. I think December there's a good one. January 5th is a good one. Then there's kind of a dry spell until you get I think there might be a small one in April, and then so basically August 11th, 12th, like tonight, last night, is kind of, now this was the big one. When I was a kid, this would be the one we go out in a boat and we'd be watching these things and it'd be like, holy cow, this is just amazing. And now it's kind of, yeah, I think the November one is taken over as a better shower now than the August one. But at any rate, the hams will endeavor to go during the showers, but they'll also go random. Any morning or any night, you'll have meteors coming down, and people will be doing this propagation quite a bit. 6 meters, 2
The
meters, both favorite
Perseids
bands.
has 50 to 60 per hour.
Yeah, no,
they
that was
say.
data from the old days. I bet you if they redid that, I bet you they'd knock it down to 30. Like it really is not what it was when I was a kid. I know that, but so I just turned it on about 4 or 5 minutes ago, and I've got one already.
Wow.
I'll take you through that once we do the final couple of videos. Now, this has nothing to do with any of that stuff. Anyone
What
know
is
what
that?
That's
what
a
is
rocket.
that? Anyone watching the news and knows what that is?
They were dumping fuel or something supposedly.
Yeah.
I was
The two
wondering if you
the two
thought that-
clouds on the side is fuel. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the bright dot in the middle?
that's the rocket.
No.
It's a UFO.
The rocket that blew up was 2 days after this. This was not the blow up rocket. This was 2 days before that.
Oh God, what was it?
It was in the news.
I know.
And if you go to my YouTube channel, it's got Chinese music behind it that you guys are being blessed with not hearing right now. Okay, I'm gonna go show you another view of that guy.
You gonna play the Jeopardy music now?
This one's got Star Trek music if you go listen to it. This is the same thing, but from the other camera. These two cameras overlap a bit. It
That's
showed
way,
up
my
on two
gosh.
cameras.
Look at
that's
that.
way cool.
So what is it?
The Enterprise.
I can't remember.
It's a mega constellation, the beginning of one, to compete with Elon Musk. Well, not compete because they're Chinese; they don't compete with anybody. But it's called Thousand Sails. This is 18 satellites. That bright white dot in the center was 18 satellites. The two clouds on the side are gas, propulsion gas from the booster rockets. I don't know why they went on each side. Maybe they got a vent to the left and a vent to the right. I don't know. And that was a week ago,
Interesting.
not even 6 days ago.
Wow.
So
I bet you many don't have a picture like that.
yeah, it was a fluke. So I got that video and I'm looking through it. I look at it on the TV in the morning and I'm playing this thing and my wife says, "Oh, that's something different." I go, "Nah, it's just a plane with some weird clouds beside it that are following along with the plane." I don't know. And then I got an email, and this is another thing you guys might want to check out. Spaceweather.com.
Yes.
We'll send you an email when things are happening. They come in about
yeah.
every 3 or 4 days. If there's going to be a big solar storm coming, that'll be there. This thing here was announced. People had pictures of it, and it's got all the details of it. And anything to do with the space, it's spaceweather.com. It's free. It's excellent. I'd check it out. It's neat.
When I lived in Chesapeake, up the coast of Virginia is Wallops Island, and a lot of rockets get
Yeah.
sent up from there.
Yeah.
And we used to get emails when they were going to send stuff up from Wallops Island.
Yeah.
So I guess the one that you're talking about is anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, and the unfortunate thing is the Chinese didn't tell anybody. Now, I've thrown in the WSJT window. Can you guys see that all right?
Yes.
So in the blue thing, instead of FT8 having a waterfall down, this one here has the waterfall going sideways. And if we get a meteor, which I guess we're not going to get, which way is my beam going? Well, I'm southeast. I should be getting somebody, but anyhow, this is what I say. I don't think this storm is a real big one. You'll see this green light will jump up and this yellowish stuff will go red for about half a second, depending how big the meteor is. If it's a big one, you'll get a full 15 seconds of burn. And then down here, you'll get a whole bunch of text even repeating itself because you're sending that text over and over 200 times every 15 seconds. So just 10 minutes ago, this is a guy, VE3 FAL, calling W9XX. Now, a lot of you guys are familiar with FT8. So if I double click on that.
Well, FAL is Fred.
Yes, that's
he's
right.
in,
Very good.
He's in Thunder Bay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Our friend.
Yeah.
And W9XX, I'm not too sure who it is, but he is 566 miles away. So I picked him up from a meteor between us at 566 miles. I probably got him in my, I've worked him many times. Okay, he's in Wisconsin. Bruce in Wisconsin. Oh, here's something interesting. I worked him on Aurora back in May. So I'm into some of these chat groups, Slack, and also Ping Jockey is another one that people type back and forth. And when I see the Aurora coming up big, I'll say, "Hey guys, I'm beaming north Q65. See if you can catch me." Well, this guy did, and he picked me up from 540 miles, it says here, on Aurora. So he beamed north, I beamed north, and we made a QSO with this Q65 mode. We've done it on voice too, but boy, it's painful trying to listen to someone on Aurora. But this is the mode for meteors here called MSK 144. And it's sending out this stuff. I could send out a CQ right now. I won't because I might get caught up in a QSO. The other mode for the Aurora, we click on mode and we go down to Q65. And I lost my thing here. I like to go 1,000 hertz, roughly, right in the middle of the pass band. And this is where you go. This is 30 seconds, mode C. If you're doing any of the WSJT, it's got a little window down in the corner here that'll tell you what mode you're on, which is a good thing to watch because boy, more than once I think I'm on one mode and I'm not. 30C works well because the red is my transmit bandwidth. And it's pretty wide, you know, it's almost a kilohertz wide, and that puts the tones out wide enough that even with the Darth Vader smearing effect, the tones still come through, usually. The other mode that we like using, at least I like using, is 15B. Shorter time period, not quite as sensitive, but again, look at the red bandwidth here, almost 1,000 hertz of bandwidth. And this works for Aurora. FT8 will not work for Aurora. It's too spread out. You won't get copy. In fact, I'll see a spread out signal on FT8 and know that the Aurora is there sometimes even before I get news of it. But that's the two modes digitally used. CW, fantastic mode for both Meteor and Aurora. In fact, if you're good at CW, you'll probably make more Aurora contacts on CW than any of these fancy new modes. Because if you go down there, you'll hear people typing away. And with CW, even if it's a hissy noise, you can still hear the dits and dahs. Like Greg did a month ago when he did that rain scatter through the Zoom meeting we were having for a station that was 120 miles from me. And it was raspy as hell. And yet Greg could copy it just because you're not listening for vowels and consonants. You're just looking for short and long pulses. So that's another mode. In fact, probably the predominant mode for Aurora is CW.
Just so you know, that's on the test.
Is that right?
That's the most common mode for Aurora.
Yeah, CW would be it.
Yeah.
CW is it.
There's a few people Q65, but I would say for every 2 on Q65, there's probably half a dozen on CW. You just tune down the band and there they are beeping away. So I'm trying, Greg. I'm trying. I'm up to about 10 words a minute now, but I'm working on it. Any questions from all that, you guys? That was a bit of a long one.
I love it. Yeah.
It's been great.
It's good presentation.
Thank you. How I spent my summer vacation.
I missed an opportunity. If I had the AI turned on, it would have summarized this whole thing for me. But we really covered a whole lot of
space stuff
and radio stuff in one session. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
We're overwhelmed. It's great.
Oh, the Chinese mega constellation is aiming for, I think, 12,000 satellites up there. Elon so far has got a little over 6, and they're going to give him a run for the money. But I don't know, 18 at a time, they're not going to get very fast that way. I think they're going for more next time. I think they're going to launch 50 next time. They said.
Wow. Well, I certainly appreciate you entertaining us and educating us, Chris.
No, not a problem.
You got a unique vantage point up there.
Yeah. It's cold in the winter, but at least we got some stuff to work with.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And we'll